Obama talking about the aliens. I got a video on the screen.
Oh, perfect.
I want to hear it myself.
Yeah.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know?
So aliens are real?
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
Well,
He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, the president.
I do now.
Well, maybe I'll get him out of trouble. I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
We know illegal aliens.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying. That's hilarious.
What else?
That was it. What's going around the internet? These in the circles of these.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying. Jeez, I hope he does.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Imagine you can get in trouble as a president for saying aliens are real.
I don't think so, man. I don't think he's gonna get in trouble for that.
Well, what did he say then? What was that?
They've been saying there's aliens. Like,
Right, but what did he just say?
he just hates Obama. He's going like, oh, he's going to jail. I'm getting Hillary and I'm getting Obama for aliens.
They all hate each other and then they all hang out and shake hands.
Yeah. Yeah, whose funeral was that when like George Bush and them were handing out candy to each other? It was like George Bush and
Well, George Bush and Michelle Obama are apparently friends.
oh, they're buddies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which everybody thought. But George Bush never engaged in like this insult kind of thing that Trump does.
It's true.
It's a different thing. you
Yeah,
know?
it's totally that's.
He was
totally
always
true.
very classy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and especially when you see the videos of him back in the day, like now you're like, man, this guy's like lovable.
Oh, dude, in comparison to the politicians of
That's
today,
what I'm saying. Yeah,
he was like, oh, when is he running again?
the guy's a complete class act. And then you're like, oh yeah, fuck the Middle East, forgot about that. But it's like,
Oh, yeah. Well, he had Satan on his side.
yeah, true,
Dick Cheney was
true.
running around fucking shooting his friends in the face and hunting trips.
That's true. I don't know. I mean, that thing is like, was it classified? It's like now, but then if Trump's going to be like that, he gave out classified, then he's letting you know it's classified. So
Right.
he's telling you the cat's out of the bag. So
Well, he's saying I may declassify it. I hope he does. I hope this like gets
Yeah.
him, because that is a weird thing to say. He's not supposed to be saying that. Well, that means it's real. He gave out classified information. That means there's real data that aliens are real. That's the only thing you could draw as a conclusion from that statement.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, you would think.
I don't think I would try to come up with another reasonable way he would say aliens are real. You shouldn't say that because it's classified.
Yeah.
That means it's real.
Yeah, it is, but that's such a crazy. If Trump was trying to keep it classified, you think he'd be like, I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, I don't know, dude.
Being like, well, yeah, they are, but I can't say they are, and he's in trouble now.
I told you I've talked to Bob Lazar many times.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I had him on the podcast. I had dinner with him and Andrew Schultz. Schultz was in town in L.A. And I go, what are you doing tonight? And he goes, why, what's up? I go, you want to go have dinner with Bob Lazar? He's the guy that used to back engineer UFOs at Area 51. He goes, fuck, yes.
Damn.
I go, all right. So we went to Fogo de Chao in L.A.
That's awesome.
And we sat down with Bob Lazar and just got to ask him all these questions. I've known him for years now. So I've known him for probably, when I did the podcast with him, what year was that, Jamie?
2019.
2019. So I've known him for 6-7 years now.
Okay.
However it runs out time-wise. And he's always had the same story. He's a very reasonable guy. I've had dinner with him a couple times. Super normal guy. Doesn't seem like a big fat liar. Obviously a scientist. Obviously a very brilliant guy. I don't know what to think. I keep searching for some bullshit. I keep searching for something. He never saw any aliens. He never saw anything. He just was back engineering these crafts that didn't make any sense. He's like, he got there, he saw it. The moment he saw it, it looked like that thing. That's what it's based on. That thing on the desk, that's the sport model.
Jesus Christ.
There's a guy named Designs by Perry, and the E in Perry is a 3, and he makes these. You could buy them on the internet. He makes a desk clock or a desk lamp, rather.
So he'd have to examine the motor or whatever, the mechanisms of that. And try
They
to
didn't
fix
even
it?
tell him what he was doing. So this is what it was. So he worked at Los Alamos Labs in New Mexico, and he was a propulsions expert. He had famously put a jet engine on the back of a Honda. He built a Honda with a jet engine on it, just for funsies.
Yeah,
He was just a genius.
Yeah.
He just loved engineering and doing things. And he had contacted this guy about getting some work, work in laboratories or whatever. And he said, I might have something for you that is more along the lines with your capabilities. I'm going to set up a meeting for you. So he sets up this meeting for him. He has no idea what the meeting is about. He has no idea what they're doing. They don't tell him. They just start asking him about his background, what he did at Los Alamos, what he's interested in. And he's like, just tells his whole story of science and this and that. And so they had already heard about him. So they go, okay, show up at this place. There's airplanes that are going to fly you out to where you're going. So he's like, okay. So no one even knew about these airplanes back then. Now it's been confirmed that there's a bunch of airplanes right outside of Mandalay Bay. You could see these airplanes that they fly, the employees that work in Area 51, and they live in Las Vegas. They just fly them out there. But nobody knew about this in 1989 when he was talking about it, when he blew the whistle on it.
Yeah.
And so they fly him out there. They, show him how everything works for a couple days in terms of like how the base works and where you have access to, what you don't have access to. They bring him this guy that is his coworker that was there before, and then it was gonna show him the ropes. And then a couple days in, they bring him into a hangar, and there's that thing, and it has an American flag sticker on it. And so he goes, "Oh, these are ours." He's like, "Oh my God, no wonder why people are seeing these things. This is something that we have." So then they tell him, essentially, tell us how it works. He's like, what is this, a test? Like what? Like they're very vague about everything. No one's telling him where it came from. No one's telling him anything. And then he realizes like the whole thing doesn't make sense because there's no welds. There's no seams. It's like it's 3D printed. And you have to crawl in it because it's designed for people that are like 3 feet tall.
Whoa.
And there's no controls in it. He's like, what is this? And there's this generator in the center of it that has this triangle piece of this element that doesn't even exist on Earth. This element 115. He's like, wait, what the fuck is going on? And they explained to him, you bombard this element with radiation. This is how this thing works. You put this dome on it, gets bombarded with radiation, and then that causes this field around this craft that allows you to move around.
Whoa.
And so they do a demonstration for him. He goes outside. They fly this thing. When he's under it, he can't see it. He has to step away from where he is before, so he can see it again. He's like, what the fuck is this thing? It's not making any noise. It moves around. It gives off this like glowing light when whatever this generator inside of it is operational. It gives off this blue glowing light, and this thing was like silently flying around, and occasionally it would go from one point to another very quickly. Like it could go from like this part of the mountain to that part of the mountain and just appear there. And it would look like it just disappeared because it would move so fast. It would just appear in a new place, it seemed like.
What was steering the thing?
I don't understand it, and he didn't understand it either. They don't exactly know. He knows how supposedly this generator, there's these gravity beam projectors that are on the bottom of it, and the way you get it to fly fast, it would turn sideways, and then it would point these gravity projectors, or whatever they called it, into a certain direction. It would create this void around this craft, and it would just instantaneously go to wherever it was supposed to go.
Fuck, dude. That's crazy.
Right. And so he's working on this for, months and months, and then his wife starts having an affair on him because he doesn't tell her what he's doing. It's like super top secret. And so when you have this super top secret clearance, you can't tell anybody what you're doing.
Yeah.
So he's like, I got to go to work. She's like, it's 11 o'clock at night. Where are you going? He's like, I have to go to work. So he would just jet off, and she was like, well, I'm going to go fuck my flight attendant or my flight instructor. Damn. So this is all recorded because they're tapping his phones. And so they suspend him because they were wondering if he's going to be emotionally unstable. So while he's suspended, he takes his friends. He's like, I got to tell people about this. Like, I can't even work. Something's going on. I got to tell these people, like, hey, every Wednesday, I have the schedule. Every Wednesday, they fly these fucking things. And the reason why they do it on Wednesday is because that's when there's the least amount of traffic on the roads. Oh. So he takes his wife, and he takes a couple of friends, and he takes them up to see this thing. And they go once, and then they go twice, and then they get caught.
Damn.
And then when they get caught, Then they grill him, they scare him, they're poking him in the chest with a gun, and they're freaking him out. And then they tell him about his wife and the affair and all this shit. And so then he goes public. And so he gets hold of this guy, George Knapp, who's a news reporter in Las Vegas. And he tells him the story. And at first, initially, they black his face out, and like so he could remain anonymous. He's like, "Look, the only way I could stay alive, you have to show my face." Because they're threatening him. They broke into his house. He goes outside. He goes to the gym. Goes outside. His trunk is open. His hood is open. All his doors are open. The car was locked. No one broke into it. So he has no idea. They're fucking
Christ,
with him,
man.
and he's really worried. Someone shoots his tire out on the highway.
Where is he
Yeah.
now?
He's
Just chilling.
well. I don't know if I'm supposed to say where he lives.
Well, whatever. But he's like around.
Yeah, no, he's around. I mean, this is a long time ago. It was a long time ago, and he was kind of discredited. They tried to discredit him. They said he never worked at Los Alamos Labs, but then someone got a hold of the employee roster from the time that he was working there, and his name's listed there. So someone who worked there at the time said, "I have the employee roster from 1985 or whatever it was," and he says, "Like here, right here," and they go through the roster and it says right there, Robert Lazar. And
Damn.
there's also a newspaper article that was printed about him being a physicist at Los Alamos Labs and that he had made this crazy jet engine powered Honda.
Yeah.
And so there's him with the Honda, and he's listed in this lab that he's a physicist at this lab.
Dude, that shit's so weird.
So, and then what that guy just said?
Yeah.
What Trump just said? He's not supposed to say that. It's classified. Like,
yeah.
what? Why don't you fucking tell us?
Well, I always wonder if they're going to try to do like a Space Force thing, where it's like WMD's the Middle East. We go to the Middle East. Now they're going like, yeah, I think there are aliens, and it's like now we get to do like Space Force shit.
I think if they're aliens, you can't do shit to them.
I know, but it's also like if you want to erect some weird defense thing in outer space so we can spy on China, it's like, yeah, I think there's probably are aliens by the way. It's like I would imagine there's something.
I would imagine there's something.
Because the government, whenever they start floating out things, like I assume there's like an agenda. I'm like, all right, what are they doing?
100%.
Because they just dropped aliens on us out of nowhere, and everyone was kind of like, okay.
Well, it really started around 2017.
Yeah.
That's when it started to become legitimized, because that was when the New York Times printed this article about it. And they talked about these pilots and their experiences and these videos that they couldn't explain because these crafts had no heat signature and they were flying at ridiculous speeds over the ocean.
Yeah. I remember them just coming out with it, and then like, and then they started doing the UAP thing and all that stuff, and they were like, yeah, there's like unidentified crafts and blah blah blah. So I'm always kind of like, what are they up to?
Yeah, it's weird.
What the hell are these guys up to right
It's
now?
hard to know what's real and what's not real, but when you start talking to pilots and people that have experienced certain things, you just go, wow, what is this guy saying?
Yeah, and I don't deny it. I'm always kind of like, yeah, you probably did see that stuff, but it's like, I don't know, it's like...
Why is it classified?
It's got to be I would imagine it's military stuff where they're like, we want to use it we want to reverse engineer and use it for our military if this gets into another military's hands, blah, blah, blah. But then they're all spying on each other, so I would imagine they would know too.
Well, the people that I've talked to said that Russia and China both have retrieved crashes.
Really?
Yeah, it's not just America that has them. It's other countries that have them too.
Damn.
Supposedly, this is the big story. Supposedly, there's one that's so big that they can't move it, so they built a building around it. And that's supposed to be in Korea.
What?
Supposedly. That's why I heard it's in Korea. But yeah, this is the lore, that this thing is so big that they couldn't move it, that they had to put a building around it.
Dude, that's wild. That'll be the thing I always think about. If they come out and say, yeah, there's definitely aliens, like, what do people do?
Yeah. This is the building, supposedly?
Whoa.
A giant building in South Korea is often been cited as a potential UFO storage facility. You imagine if they just built it the shape of a UFO?
That kind of looks like it.
That's
Honestly.
so
I'm like,
crazy.
Dude, do a square building.
What's in that fucking building?
I don't know.
Imagine if that's real.
Yeah, what is this? Why are they? Why do they think this?
Well, I would imagine that place would have to be heavily guarded.
Yeah.
There's just a gate. Who's that guy? Eric Burleson insisted on the existence of aliens, but admitted he has no definitive proof. Okay.
I was talking in that video I showed you the other day who said he was going to go look at these places.
He was going to go look in Korea?
He mentioned he was going to go look at the underground one. He didn't say where it was.
Oh, this is the congressman. Congressman's claim.
Yeah,
So
yep.
scroll down there a little lower. So here it is. U.S. Congressman has claimed the classified facility housing a UFO is hiding in plain sight. Well, that's kind of hiding in plain sight. They literally made a little antenna on the top, just like this sport model. Look at this sport model. It has that antenna on the top. I don't know what to believe, man, but I know I want to
70
believe.
feet diameter, it says.
270 feet in diameter. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, especially now with all the deep fake stuff that's going to come out. Like the next election will be in like deep fake territory. Everyone will be like, you were on the Epstein list. You were on it. No, you were. I'm like, I'm just,
You could have people saying all kinds of things that they've never said.
Or being like, I didn't do that.
Hanging out with people they never hung out. I mean, there was all these photos that were fake of Epstein with a bunch of different people.
Oh, yeah. No, there was a completely fake videos people were sharing.
Yeah.
It's like, so I don't know. By that time, it's like, I've been trying to just pull back completely from like the news, and I'm like,
Hey, what is the official story of the Colbert Show where they had to air that Tallarico interview on YouTube? Because I'm hearing two versions. I'm hearing one version is that CBS wouldn't let them air it because like Trump was involved and the government was involved somehow or another because they're worried about this Tallarico guy, this very charismatic guy in Texas that I really like. He's a very nice guy. I had him on the show. Brian Simpson told me about him. And then the other thing that I'm hearing is no, with FCC equal time rules, if he had Tallarico on, he would also have to have Tallarico's opponent, which is, I think, Jasmine Crockett. Is that true?
I didn't even know
or whoever his opponent is. So I think there's rules like that for the FCC that don't exist for podcasts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they have to balance it.
Yeah, like if you have this person on that's running for office, you also have to have someone that is opposing them. Running.
Okay.
They have to have equal time.
I didn't know they had
Is that true?
So he was on, Colbert? Whose show was he on?
Yeah, Stephen Colbert Show.
Okay.
And so they were framing it like it was the government was censoring this guy because they're worried, and he was saying they're worried that they're going to flip Texas. That's what he was saying. I don't know if that's true though, because I'm.
So it's the different. Honestly, this sounds like it's Colbert saying one thing, CBS lawyers are saying a different thing.
Oh, okay. What are CBS lawyers saying?
They're saying that it's the FCC thing. Colbert says, quote, here, they know damn well every word of my script was approved by CBS lawyers who, for the record, approve every script that goes on the air.
Yeah, but it's not about the script. It's about the humans, the people that are on. If the people are, here it is. The show provided legal guidance that the broadcast could trigger the FCC equal time rule for two other candidates, including Rep. Jasmine Crockett, and presented options for how equal time for other candidates could be fulfilled. So you would have to have equal time. Colbert scoffed at this statement during Tuesday's show. They know damn well every word of my script, but it doesn't have anything to do with the script. Said they don't know damn well that every word of my script last night was approved by CBS lawyers who, for the record, approved every script that goes on the air. Well, that's just diverting because that's not what the subject is. Okay. I got called backstage to get more notes from these lawyers, something that had never, ever happened before. They told us the language they wanted me to use to describe that equal time exception, and I used that language, Colbert said, so I don't know what this is about. He went on to say he wasn't mad at the network and does not want an adversarial relationship. Well, he's on his way out anyway.
Yeah, I didn't know he still was doing a show.
Yeah, he's doing it, I think, until like April or May or something. Come on, you're Paramount. No, you're more than that. You're Paramount Plus, he cracked. And for the lawyers to release this statement without even talking to me is really surprising. The host also noted there's been a long, very famous exception to the equal time rule, and that exception included talk shows, interviews with politicians. Oh, interesting. So that makes it interesting. We looked, we couldn't find one example of this rule being enforced for any talk show interview, not only for my entire late-night career, but for anyone's late-night career going back to the 1960s, he said. Colbert said that Carr has not gotten rid of that exception for talk show hosts yet. Maybe CBS was worried that this is a rule and that the government could crack down on them, although no one has ever done that in the past.
Yeah, well,
so this is a different kind of government, right? Obviously. It's a very adversarial relationship, CBS, or at least the Colbert Show has already with Trump.
Yeah. Well, what are they worried about? Who is Taylor? What party is Tallarico?
He's a Democrat.
Democrat, and what's Crockett?
I want to talk to you about the story of the crystal skulls themselves, because there's this strange sort of folklore attached to them, and then there's a lot of people that believe that it's all horseshit and that these were created by modern people and buried underground in order to...
Well, my understanding of it is, there you go.
Cheers again.
Yeah, indeed. That's just the citrus model, the crystal driver. There were 13 heads, and it was purported that the Navajo, the Anasazi, the Mayans, the Aztec each had one. The most famous one is the Mitchell Hedges skull, which was found in the Yucatan by Anna Mitchell Hedges. She reached into a cave. She was with her grandfather, and it was around 1926, and she reached in, and there was an oilcloth covered item in there, and she pulled it out and opened it up, and there was the two-piece detachable jaw Mitchell Hedges skull. Beautiful skull. The Hewlett-Packard engineers did a test on it in the 60s. They said it could not have been carved by a lapidary, by tools. It had to have been polished over hundreds of years, over centuries, to get to the shape that it was. So they said it was a polished item. Let's see. There's the Mitchell Hedges skull, the Phyllis Newman skull named Max. She says,
wasn't that later decided by some people that this was not the case?
I'm gonna exactly get to that point, because of course it's important. It doesn't affect my business whether they're fake or not. These were beautiful artifacts, and we've recreated it beautifully. But it's nice to know the true story, and I have a kind of a thought on the theory either way. So there's the Phyllis Newman skull named Max. She has to put it in the closet because it talks to her. There's one.
Wait. Hit the brakes. I'm going to have to hit the brakes a bunch with you. You're an excellent talker, sir.
Oh, well, I was inoculated with a gramophone needle at birth. I could talk a taxi dispatcher into a vow of silence. I could talk an air raid siren to scrap. But
and you're obviously Canadian because you said slag.
Yeah, there you go.
I used to date a Canadian gal. She loved that term.
Oh, wow. That's another tangent. Canadian gals and Canadian guys. So the Philip Newman skull, she got it. Its name is Max. She has to put it in the closet because it talks to her, she said. So there's the Mitchell Hedges.
Has it?
Yes, she does. Phyllis has that one. Then there's the Mitchell Hedges skull that's in Indiana. The man that took care of Anna at the end of her life eventually had it and got it. It sat in Grafton, Ontario for many years, and I never saw it, but people said when they walked into the room and she uncovered it with the cloth she kept it in, that there was an immediate feeling of well-being and healing coming over to look at the original Mitchell Hedges skull. There's one in Mexico City. It's one of our minis. It's got a cross stuck right in the top of it, which is, that would shatter a crystal if you did that. How that cross got there, I don't know. There's one at the Smithsonian in Washington, two at the Smithsonian, Washington, D.C., and one at the Victoria and Albert Museum. So there's supposed to be 8 that we have and 5 that we're missing. The woman at the Smithsonian who has the 2 there, I think they're a cloudy orange one and a cloudy green one, and they're smaller. She says they're all fakes, that they were carved by a German lapidary in the 1800s, and that he seeded them around the world. Well, wait a minute. I think one was found in Tibet. One was found in Ohio, we're hearing, at the Serpent Mounds.
Why does she think this one gentleman did it?
Because he was an expert lapidary. He had the tools to do it, and she figures, her theory is that they're not artifacts polished by tribal hands and passed down, that they're all fakes. But it's just, wait a minute, he would have had to have had an airship to go and deposit these wherever they might be around the world. You can get the pictures of the skulls up, the Smithsonian crystal heads, and the Smithsonian crystal heads you can get in Victoria Albert crystal head.
Do they all have the same similar type of markings?
There's theirs. Yes, they do. They all have the same. Now, you see, some of them are more are clearer. See, there's one at the British Museum. And there's some that are clearer and are more beautiful, and there's some that are rougher, like that one there, and the green and the orange one. But she says all fakes. But if they're all fakes, how did they get to these different places around the world, and how were they found?
Well, here's the thing. But why fake? The word fake is very strange, because it's like they are certainly real carved crystal skulls.
But were they from tribal ancestry? That's the question.
Who made them? Is the question.
Who made them?
From modern Western people.
And how? Were they polished or were they carved? That's the thing. Aren't they beautiful? Oh, God.
What do the indigenous people say? They say they found them?
The Navajo say they came from the Star Children, that they were brought down and deposited and given to them as crystal ball devices, scrying devices to.
What's that one down there, Jamie? Keep scrolling where you were.
The green
one on
is
the left,
beautiful.
The one on the left right there that looks almost like a real skull. Oh, it is a real skull.
Yeah, no, the green is beautiful. So I guess, I don't know, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a professional historian, I guess I have to trust the lady at the Smithsonian, but then I question, they were found at different times in history around the world. How do you go and seed? How do you deposit them there?
Why does she believe that? Has she given a coherent reason why she thinks that they're all hoaxes?
I guess she's done her analysis, whatever they've done, to their skulls. But again, the Hewlett-Packard engineers took that Mitchell Hedges skull and they said this have not have been polished. It would have been cracked or destroyed. It could not have been built by tools. It would have been cracked or destroyed. It had to have been polished. Yeah.
So, but what about some sort of a very fast-moving drill with a diamond bit on it that can slowly grind down?
Well, there'd be marks that would be visible under the scanner.
Couldn't you polish those marks down?
I think that the intensity of the Hewlett-Packard scrutiny revealed that there were none of those marks, and that's why they were able to make their claim.
Here's the problem with this: is like you want them to be real, right? Don't you?
Oh yeah, I love the legend.
I do too. I do too. But I don't trust me.
No, neither do I.
So
that's why I say openly.
When you're saying all these things, I want to believe you. I want them to be from the sky people.
I do too, but again, you've got a professional in Washington at our National Museum there who says no, they're not.
Yeah, but what does she know?
Well, we could.
She might be
one
of
her
them
name. We should get her on the phone.
She might be a party pooper.
I think that she's probably as in love with the skulls, even though they are, not polished in her mind. I bet she loves them as much as we do.
But the thing is, if you are a professional intellectual or someone who's a curator of fine artwork and ancient relics, you kind of have to be one of those people that dismisses anything preposterous. Because if not,
that's right. Like Neil Tyson, don't you love him?
Yes, I love him to death.
I love Neil, but there's no way you can sit down and say Neil, Barney, and Betty Hill were abducted by a flying saucer in 1957. He's not going to accept that because he can't accept that because everything in his training, everything in his knowledge, everything that he knows about physics and science and propulsion in the universe and how to get from place to place defies the legend, or I would say defies the theory that there are extraterrestrial advanced ships out there. He can't accept it. It's just, it would be unprofessional for him to say, okay, there's even a possibility that there were abductions. But
the Betty and Barney Hill story is very interesting, but there's no real evidence other than their testimony. Is that correct?
Well, there was a stain on Betty's dress. There's her excellent recall. He was unconscious.
What was the stain on her dress that's so interesting to you?
It was a fluid that they used in the testing, that some kind of a fluid,
the
a chemical.
alien testing?
That they did when they drew ova from her and they drew sperm from him. Now, so there's a book out called Contact by Stanton Friedman.
I read that.
Kathleen, I'd love to know where the car is. Where the Chevy they were driving.
Oh,
where
disappeared?
Is that? I don't know. I'd have to ask Kathleen where it is. Did it end up in a junkyard? Because there were marks on the back of the car as well. There were trace evidence on the back of the car. Ted Phillips he goes around the world collecting trace evidence and radioactive signatures from sightings and landings. On the back of the car, there was a couple of marks, but it was Betty's. It's their credibility. Why would they want to bring this into their lives? And she was conscious, semi-conscious through much of it, and Barney was not conscious. He was unconscious. If you hear the tapes of Ben Simon's interviews with them under hypnosis, the screaming and he was just so frightened. Yeah. And the Zeta Reticuli map, when the being Betty looked at the map and the being showed her a map as she was on her way out the door, and she said, "May I take this?" And the being was going to give it to her, but then another one zipped up and said, "No. You can't have this."
Zeta Reticuli is exactly the same place where Bob Lazar says they found those with the spaceships that they have at Area or S4.
Well, the Little Greys, Zeta Reticuli, Barney and Betty's abduction. You had Marjorie Fish, an amateur astronomer. She took the memory of Betty's. Betty drew up the star map, and she did a three-dimensional scale model of that part of the universe and was able to identify Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2 and accepted by astronomers. So that map that Betty saw aboard that ship had not been seen on Earth before.
And Betty has no history of astronomy or no studying it?
No, none of it at all. And interesting things like when they got back to the house, the house was open and the keys to the house were in on the table with leaves so that they might have dropped them at the site and the beings returned them. Now, you know who Bud Hopkins was?
Yes.
He said that since he studied the Linda Cortile case, where the woman was floated out of her apartment building over the East River, and Orange Orb picked her up, plunged into the river.
He was the guy.
Bud was an artist. He was a graphic artist. He was a designer, a painter, and a lovely man. And he was one of the first people to start to deal with the trauma of abductees. He got a reputation for being able to interview them, hypnotize them, interview them, and get their stories and empathize and sympathize with them. And he said that in some cases that he studied, the beings would grab a man from somewhere in America and grab a woman and out of their cars, out of their clothes, put them up, test them, draw ova, draw sperm, fluids, whatever they were doing. And then the woman would wake up in the man's shoes or a different car, or almost as if after the beings were finished with them, I don't care where they go now. Yeah, put them back, that kind of thing. He said that was the oddest phenomena.
Like releasing a trout.
Yeah, that's right.
If
well,
you
I think that's
catch a trout, you catch a big rainbow trout and you're fly fishing and you got a barbless hook. Most people, if you go to Montana, go to the Gallatin River, shout out to the Gallatin.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous place. People catch and release because they appreciate that the trout are there. They'd rather go buy halibut from a store and not eat the fish because they want the salmon to be healthy. They want the trout to be healthy.
Well,
so they catch them. And then they release them. But if you're a brown trout, well, brown trout are invasive. But if you're a rainbow trout, and someone catches you, and they take you on some 200-yard run down this river as they're trying to draw you in. It's a big 9-pound rainbow, catch of a lifetime,
Beautiful
right?
time.
And some guy pulls it on, it takes pictures of it, shows it, and then releases it. And then this thing's like, how the fuck did I get here? What am I doing outside of my universe?
Yeah.
What am I doing in this other dimension of air where I can't breathe?
Precisely. Yeah, and that's catch and release.
Catch and release with people.
Travis Walton says, you got to think of them as just people from over there. They're just
he's
people
the
from
guy
over
the
there.
Fire in the Sky movie was based on. He's got another interesting story. Here's what I want people
credibility
to think.
there, and credibility with Barney and Betty. I just don't think they're lying, and I don't think the Ariel school children are lying.
I don't want to think they're lying. This is the problem that I have with it. I want to believe them. But this is what I want people to consider, because most people that are pragmatic, reasonable people that don't want to be ridiculed, they look at these stories and they go, oh, come on, people are full of shit. And I've been there too. But I want people to imagine that if aliens did occasionally visit Earth, how often do you think this would take place? And how it would be very infrequently. And if it was happening, these would be completely unique, unusual occurrences out of nowhere where someone would come down, they would do something, and they would be leaving the person with this thought and this memory and this inability to describe it with normal words. If you were taken aboard a spaceship and you were some reptilian beings that were 3 feet tall were running experiments on you and you were paralyzed, and then they released you back on Earth, what words do you have available to you to describe this experience in a way that, if you tell me, hey, Joe, I went whitewater rafting with my kids. It was a great time. It was so fun. We got to see eagles, and it was gorgeous. And then we had lunch at this beautiful little cafe. What a great day. I can envision this experience. I can see it. But if you tell me, hey, man, we went camping, and I woke up, and some alien had a finger in my ass.
The Allagash incident, they went camping, and they disappeared.
Quite a few of those, right?
There's hundreds of thousands. And here, I brought you a book. This is Bruce Maccabee's book. It's all the headlines from 1952, 432 reports given. And I'll address your specific question about people, how they relate their experiences and how genuine they feel in a second here. 432 reports given the Air Force in 1952 on aerial sightings, ships from other planet. We've got memos from the government here. Former Army pilots sees flying saucer by daylight, whatever was cited here. July 30 stories, fighter pilots at Newcastle say alert for more saucer reports. These are newspaper.
Yeah.
That's yours.
Well, newspapers never lie.
Well,
I don't know if you know that.
Well,
they never make fake stories.
Well,
they never talk shit about people.
The New York Times is pretty reliable. Ralph Blumenthal and Leslie Keene are reporters for the New York Times, and they've been studying this phenomenon. They report very credibly on it. I'll tell you how an abductee's experience is related. I attended a lecture at the Fifth Avenue Medical Institute in Manhattan with my wife a few years ago. That would be about 15 years ago. And John Mack was the lecturer. He wrote the book Abduction. He was the Harvard psychiatrist who wrote Abduction. You can get that up too. Abduction, John Mack.
Yes, I read that as well.
Yeah, and
that freaked a friend of mine out. She was a very pragmatic, non-UFO believing person, and we were working together on news radio. My friend Maura Tierney, and she came up to me and she goes like, "This book is freaking me the fuck out." And he wrote a second book as well. Didn't he die in a car accident?
John Mack,
I believe he died in a car accident.
Stepped off a curb in a small town in England, and he was struck by a car.
Yeah.
And 3 other John Macks died the same day in England. So
you think people were whacking John Max because he knew too much?
I don't know.
Let's take
Again,
them all out.
I was at this lecture, and there were 300 abductees there. That some who he'd interviewed with, some he had not, but who were there for interested to find out more about their experience. And one guy got up and said he had one arm, and I don't know whether that was related. I don't think it was related to the experience, but he said, "I'm a Wall Street broker. I'm quite well off. I have a sailboat. I was in Long Island Sound a few years ago, and a blue light hit me, and I had missing time of about 5 or 6 hours. But in it, I have filtrated memories of beings addressing me and telling me that I was powerful and influential and I could help the planet survive. And they put me back in my ship, and I woke up, and he said, I'm waiting for them to come back. I want them to come back." And I asked the room, I got up and I said, of all of you who've been taken, how many of you would want to repeat the experience or have it happen again? And about half of them said, no way they'd want to have it happen again. And half said, yeah, we'd like it to happen
Half.
again. Yeah. Half, yeah.
Now, I love a
So
good
Bruce signed this to me, and I'm going to give it to you. And it's
thank
just got great. It's got great headlines from the 50s, which was a massive time for saucers. You know that famous photo of the saucers over the Capitol, the glowing lights, and yeah.
See if you can find that photo, Jamie, because it is quite interesting.
July 1952, Washington.
Do you
sightings.
think this was initiated by the detonation of the atomic bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, where they decided, okay, these fucking monkeys are doing some stupid shit. We need to go down there and see what's up and see if there's imminent danger to the cosmos. Let's find out what kind of capabilities they have. Because if you listen to Lazar, or if you believe the work of Zecharia Sitchin, or any of the people that believe that human beings were engineered, that there's the reason why there's this giant leap between us and the rest of the primates on the planet is because something came down and manipulated our genetics.
Well, the movie Mission to Mars with Tim Robbins, basically it says that. Basically it shows the face on Mars, and that is one of NASA employees' favorite movies. Yeah, there they are. Yeah. 1952 UFO incident. Thank you very much.
Look at that photo. That's a crazy
beautiful
photo.
Come on, let's go here now,
That's crazy.
folks. Yeah, that ain't an airplane. That ain't a helicopter.
No, it's a crazy photograph, and it's from 1952. I mean, the special effects back then were incredibly crude.
No,
this was something that was reported by
thousands of people. They scrambled jets from Andrews for it and everything.
As well as the Phoenix Lights.
The Phoenix Lights is fascinating because the Fife Symington, the governor, said he saw them. He made fun of it with an alien
but he
dummy.
talked about that afterwards.
Yeah.
He was put under pressure to do so.
Yeah.
He's in a movie called, what is it? There's a documentary on Netflix that's available that he's in, that he talks about the pressure that they put on him to make light of that incident, and he talks about his own personal experiences with seeing some sort of triangle-shaped craft that was enormous, the size of several football fields. It was flying overhead, that was completely silent, and how it freaked him out.
The triangle and delta crafts are very, very interesting. But the Tinley Park incidents of the 80s, and with Sam Maranto was the investigator there from MUFON. These things would park over the family barbecue for about half an hour, and families in suburbs were looking up at the sky being blotted out by these things parking above them. So, I think it comes down to I don't think these beings. Lord Hill Norton said there were 23 different species visiting the planet in 23 different types of ships. I don't think they want a formal relationship with people on Earth. They want an informal, secret relationship. I think they probably have one with elements of black elements of the Air Force and the government. You know who David Sarita is?
I've heard his name.
David Sarita. You should have him on. He's very knowledgeable about this. His theory is that the Roswell event may have been precipitated by the Trinity explosion because there was such an interdimensional disturbance of the atoms being split and that explosion. There was that saucer there that went down in 47 may have may have been influenced somehow negatively by that explosion. Now, Stanton Friedman didn't buy that. I love Stanton. He just passed away there. He was the expert on Roswell.
Yeah, I'm upset that I never got to meet him before he died.
He was so credible.
An
and
interesting
so great.
guy who believed in UFOs, but believed most people were lying about them.
Really?
Yeah. Well, he believed that there was a lot of horse shit going on, including Bob Lazar. He thought Bob Lazar was full of shit.
Again, why would Bob go out there and do that and compromise his life?
Well, let me tell you something. After talking to him for 3 hours and then having dinner with him the night before, I used to believe I had the best bullshit meter in the world, but as I've gotten older, I've gotten more honest. I didn't see anything. He's an incredibly smart guy, and he's not a guy who's like seeking out attention, and he's not profiting from this. And in fact,
just his demeanor and everything. Jeez, he's like an accountant.
He's a legitimate scientist.
Yeah.
And I've talked to him. One of the things that I engaged him with when we had dinner, we talked about science, just science in general, and we talked about all sorts of different things. And he's a scientist. He's a legit scientist. I've talked to a lot of them.
Yeah,
I know what kind of person he is.
And they just hassled him again. There, they rated his nuclear isotope.
They think he has element 115. That's what they think.
Wouldn't we all love to have that?
Yeah, that's what they think. That's some artist created that thing up there with element 115. And
element 115, indeed. Well, if you get a little sliver of that, that would be pretty exciting. Yeah,
he talked openly about it in the 90s that he had managed to weasel some away from the Area S4. And they think that he still has it.
Yeah.
But there were some experiments that he had done that George Knapp had actually filmed that had showed some really bizarre distortions using this stuff, and then it was able to. I got to remember exactly what it did that they showed, but they did some experiments with like steam or smoke or something like that, where they showed element 115 emitting some sort of
vapor.
Well, no, it was emitting some sort of a field. Where you literally couldn't physically touch this stuff.